Hello everyone, I am Mr. Rain, and welcome to the gun range in Insurgency Sandstorm. I know this came with a recent update of the game, and I've used it already in another video of mine talking about suppression. So before we get into all this, if you haven't yet figured out where the shooting range is, simply load up the game, go to tutorials, and then you'll see the firing range option there. It will load up and you'll be able to choose any weapon you want from either faction, as well as any attachments you would like. It gives you a ton of resupply points, so you're able to just max out as many things as you want, just to see what the gun would look like fully kitted out. And today I am doing a comparison video of the M4A1 versus the G36K. And the main reason why I'm doing this is because these two weapons are both rifles, they are both available to security forces, and they both kind of serve the same purpose. They're both high rate of fire, and so I kind of want to try and show the differences between these two weapons in particular, and try and give you what I feel is probably the better alternative when it comes to choosing one of these two weapons. So right now what we are going to work with is the M4A1. As you see on the stats to the right, it uses the 5.56 and has a very high rate of fire, uses a magazine capacity of 30, it has both full auto and single fire aim, and that's about it for your choices for said weapon. And then if we were to spawn it in, we get a good look at their iron sights. Very clean. I personally like how they look. And then the other thing that we're going to test here real quick is the weapon recoil. And so from here to there, and I'm going to adjust for all sorts of recoil, both vertical and horizontal. So here we go, 3, 2, 1. So the gun has a lot of vertical kick, not too much horizontal. It was pretty easy to keep it in that nice little cluster. And so now we will go ahead and spawn in with the G36K. So the G36K uses the same ammunition, 5.56 by 45. Let me just double check. 5.56 by 45. The G36, stats wise, it has a slower velocity. And let me see. I just want to be very sure. Slower velocity, slower penetration, the same fire rate according to this chart, and a little more horizontal recoil. So we're going to pick the gun up.
Yeah, good to go.
And the other thing to mention here is the G36 has 3 fire rates. One is single fire, full auto, and a 2-shot burst mode. A 2-shot burst mode, so you can see 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. And just like the other one, I want to show the irons. I'm not a huge fan of these irons, but they are pretty clear. I prefer the M4 irons, but again, that's personal preference. And so now we're going to take this and we're going to do the recoil test. 3, 2, 1. Ha 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 ha. Okay, hold on. We're going to do the recoil test. 3, 2, 1. It was a lot more vertical recoil. Not as much as horizontal. It was a lot more trickier to try and keep it down. You see it goes up and to the right a little bit. Let me test that one more time over on this side. Yeah, it really likes to climb. It really likes to climb. And so that's your difference in recoil between the M4 and the G36. The M4 is a lot more clustered, slightly more horizontal, but it's a lot easier to keep on target. The G36 likes to kick a lot towards the up and right. And that's it for these two guns. There's not really a whole lot of difference between these two, but now you know that depending on the type of gun you want to use, the M4 is going to be easier to keep a hold of and keep your bursts and your shots a lot more concentrated, whereas the G36 is really when I want to start climbing. So if you do want to use the G36K into fights, you may want to consider grabbing a foregrip. Alright, so we are back with a brand new wall, and we're going to shoot with the G36, no foregrip, and again compensate for all recoil. 3, 2, 1. I tried really hard that time, but you still see there's a bit of vertical recoil. And now I'm going to equip the foregrip. Standard foregrip.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Even with the foregrip, there's still a bit of verticality. It was it felt easier to control, but it was still riding high. The good thing about this gun is that it doesn't have a whole lot of horizontal, so you'll pretty much get your targets on point without having to worry too much about your horizontal recoil. And then for sake of comparison, I will reload this and show the difference between the M4 with and without a foregrip. Alright, so this first test is going to be M4 base, no attachments whatsoever. 3, 2, 1. A lot less vertical recoil, but a lot more horizontal. So it's going to be a little trickier to... So when you're fighting with the M4, it's going to be about keeping that horizontal recoil in check. Whereas with the G36, it's going to be about keeping your vertical recoil in check. And for sake of comparison, I will now test the M4 with a foregrip and see the difference. 3, 2, 1. A lot easier to control. You kind of get this revolver type of layout, and that is the difference between no foregrip, no attachments, and a foregrip. The M4 is just what I feel to be a more dominant gun in comparison to the G36. It's got a slightly faster velocity and slightly better penetration. So penetration would be against walls or doorways, and so that's definitely an advantage to the M4. They both have the same fire rate, which actually caught me off guard. I thought the G36K shot a little quicker, but for more bang for your buck, you're probably better off with the M4, as it's just better overall it's just easier to control your recoil with or without your attachments. So I hope you found this video enjoyable and informative. If you want to see more, please consider subscribing to the channel. I look forward to doing more of these comparison videos in the near future. Let me know what weapons you would like to see in this type of video, and I will see you guys next time.